This program contains graphic violence and sexual content. Viewer discretion is advised. Fame. It can transform a small-town dreamer into a superstar. Some people make it, and others die trying, their dreams interrupted. One young woman moves from the Arizona desert to the Hollywood Hills to find glory on the silver screen.
She was all of the good things that would make a new actress get a part in a movie.
Young, thin, blonde, a little mysterious.
Action.
She had a world of talent.
She was very determined to follow her dreams.
But those dreams become nightmares.
You had bad guys who figured that they could find people who were looking to become famous and they could prey on them.
Jane was a very attractive-looking young lady. They saw her and she was a prime victim.
I was in shock, totally in shock.
Her rise to fame severed by real-life monsters.
These were pretty savage guys, a sociopath and a sexual predator.
And this actress is just one of many, many victims.
There was no end to how much havoc these guys could raise with a woman in Los Angeles.
I mean, it's an unbelievable, chilling confession. He goes, killed her, killed her, killed her.
For aspiring stars like Jane King, sometimes the pursuit of fame kills. Los Angeles, a city where your life can change in an instant. Fame and fortune are just an audition away. Every day, thousands of hopefuls land in Hollywood, ready to be discovered. But very few ever make it. 28-year-old Jane King is determined to give it her best shot. She grows up a normal, small-town girl in Arizona.
For fun, we went to the public swimming pools and hanging out with friends in the neighborhood.
Now in LA, she's getting serious about her future, working hard to be an actress, juggling part-time jobs and acting classes. She might not have the most reliable transportation, but she hopes that's just temporary until she makes it big. For Jane, stardom is less a question of if, but of when. No matter the obstacles, she won't give up.
She was capable of achieving that goal because of the way she looked, the way she talked, and the way that she presented herself. She was very professional.
She was an aspiring actress. Everyone thought that she had a world of talent, could have gone places.
Jane was very driven and ambitious. She was inspired to go ahead and pursue her dreams.
This particular fall, she's taking several acting courses, including one at Sherman Oaks College. Here, she meets budding filmmaker James Waite.
I met her on the first night of the class. I had gotten there a little bit early to get a good seat, and I walked up and asked if anybody was sitting with her. She said, "No, have a seat." She was very eloquent in the way she spoke. It was clear that she had been trying to achieve success for some years. She was all of the good things that would make a new actress get a part in a movie.
One day, a classmate at the Sherman Oaks class approaches. He explains he's also a talent scout for one of the major studios. She's got just the right look, and he wants her to come to their next casting session.
Trying to get a break in the business was very difficult. You almost had to know somebody to get an interview. There was no real front door where you could get a degree in film and be assured a job.
So this offer is huge. Maybe the beginning of a bright future. A few nights later, she's in another acting class, this time at the storied Scientology Celebrity Center in the heart of Hollywood.
There were a lot of people at the time in both music and film and TV who were Scientologists, and so the buzz would kind of be around town, you know, hey, go to the Celebrity Center, you might meet somebody, you might meet John Travolta, who knows, you could be in his movie.
After the session, some friends ask Jane to join them for a drink.
She said, no, I'll pick the bus up here at the corner of Franklin. And if she didn't get the bus, she would hitchhike from there.
She wants to get home and get some beauty sleep. Maybe she can connect with that casting agent the next day, so she wants to make sure she's at her best. But Jane never makes it home that night.
The next day, the young man that she lived with went to Hollywood Division and made a missing persons report on Jane.
Just as Jane's star is about to rise, has it been snuffed out? Jane's pathway toward fame begins in Arizona. After her parents' divorce, her mother moves Jane and her younger sister Judy to the suburbs of LA. It's a huge change, but the girls quickly fall for Tinseltown.
My mother would take us on outings to the Hollywood area. We would go and look at the actresses, impressions on the sidewalk. I remember Marilyn Monroe, Elizabeth Taylor, Goldie Hawn, Carol Burnett.
Seeing those stars on the Walk of Fame, Jane knows what she wants to be when she grows up.
They're movie stars, and they were glamorous and beautiful. We were attracted because we wanted to have that kind of life.
So Jane begins building it. She starts with a little celebrity styling.
Jane and I were both fashion designers in our own right. We would design our own clothes, and we had fun with that.
Wanting to show off her creations, she hits the town.
We didn't have a vehicle. We hitchhiked. We were innocent teenagers. People weren't worried about it.
Hanging out with others who want to break into the LA music and movie scene, Jane keeps her focus. It's not about partying. It's about making the right connections.
I felt like she had a good head on her shoulders, and, you know, I wanted to be like her.
Some wannabe actresses slide into drugs and then, sadly, into prostitution when things don't go right.
A lot of the girls trying to get in the movie business got into the prostitution business. If you can't make it in the movie business, you got to make it someplace else. And if you pick up a drug habit along the way, those that are struggling to do that might have to do it for a living.
Jane refuses to take that route. Smart and fun, she gains popularity in the LA social scene. Her bright personality getting her into exclusive places, backstage at concerts, private parties, in fancy hotels.
We met a couple of rock groups. Eventually, she thought she was going to marry somebody that was in a rock band.
Rumor has it, Jane even catches Mick Jagger's eye.
She thought Mick Jagger was like her soulmate. She was just meant to be with Mick Jagger.
But she wants to be more than just a groupie. She'll start by trying to model, but her main goal is to be an actress, a Hollywood star.
Hollywood was something to be aspired to. When you were in a movie, people went and saw you, and you were 30 feet high, man. You're on the silver screen.
Getting to the silver screen is a slow and expensive process.
Can you help me put this on?
She moves into a tiny Hollywood apartment with a roommate.
Thanks.
Jane works several jobs to pay for acting classes and maybe meet the right people.
She worked as a masseuse and restaurant work.
People who came to Hollywood to be actresses or directors or screenwriters. They all had day jobs. You've probably heard the story of the actress working as a waitress and got discovered.
Her first industry jobs are as a print model.
She wanted to be a model really bad and got a good modeling job.
Right away, photographers notice she's a natural in front of the camera. She starts booking better and better gigs, though not everyone turns out so well. Several photographers try to pressure her to show some skin.
All right, now I need you to take a towel off. It was not a secret that there were bad things going on. It was something that you avoided if you weren't in the market for that kind of thing, and she wasn't.
She knew something about the ropes that, people go through because they want something so bad.
She will not let those things happen to her. But that doesn't keep her mom from worrying about her little girl on her own in the big city.
She worried about the seedy possibilities of the Hollywood industry.
It was quite obvious that you had to be careful when you were in Hollywood, because if you weren't careful, you could get into some really bad situations. You had bad guys who were attracted to Hollywood because they figured that they could find people who were looking to become famous, and they could prey on them.
28-year-old Jane King moves from small-town Arizona to big, bright Hollywood with dreams of becoming a famous actress like those she idolized when she was a kid. Goldie Hawn, Elizabeth Taylor, Marilyn Monroe. Like them, she hopes one day to have her own star on the Walk of Fame.
She was very determined to follow her dreams. She was encouraged to be a model and then on to acting.
Really, really good. If you had the talent and you had the connections, you could become a big star. I mean, there were a lot of young people at that time that came up. It was big time. The Hollywood movie studios were making a ton of money. They were making movies left and right. Hollywood was a very glamorous thing to be in.
She likes the modeling work, and the camera loves her. But she's really hoping it will help launch her acting career. She's willing to start at the bottom and takes whatever role she can as an extra, no matter how B the picture is. After all, practice makes perfect. And aside from talent, the industry is also about making connections, meeting new people, getting yourself seen. Eventually, her hard work gets her an extra role in Up in Smoke with Cheech and Chong. Then, she's cast as a featured extra in the Academy Award-nominated film Looking for Mr. Goodbar, starring Diane Keaton and Tuesday Weld. Keaton and Weld are just the type of actress Jane wants to be. But her small successes don't translate to her pocketbook, and money's tight. In a city addicted to cars, she can't even afford to keep one running. Moving from the background to center stage would mean more cash, but it'll take more connections to get there. So Jane tries to expand her network. Like many hopeful stars in Hollywood, she turns to the Los Angeles Scientology Celebrity Center for help making the big time.
L. Ron Hubbard was the founder of it. He wrote many science fiction novels. He said, why don't I start a church, and I will call it Scientology. And it became a very large organization in Los Angeles.
It had established enough of a reputation as a Hollywood cultural meeting place that people would actually get involved to network with Scientology people that had some success. You know, like John Travolta had it going on at the time, and he was kind of the big star of the moment. So it was quite the little nexus in Hollywood. You know, it's kind of cutting edge. It was something different.
The Scientology Celebrity Center also offers acting classes, and Jane signs up right away. Maybe this is the place to be discovered.
I remember Jane King standing in the lobby of the Celebrity Center. You know, she was young, thin, blonde, a little mysterious.
She thinks of every angle in terms of getting famous, right down to her name. Her birth name is Evelyn King, but she doesn't think it's got a star quality to it. She decides to go by her middle name, Jane. Jane King, she thinks, sounds like a celebrity. Determined to make it, no matter how much hard work it takes, she also enrolls in acting classes at Sherman Oaks College.
It's about the way you carry yourself, too.
For $40 or $50, you could go and take a 10-week class that was 3 hours long, one night a week. And they would have A-list actors teaching the acting classes, the A-list ones like Michael Douglas, Robert De Niro. Robert De Niro talked about his work in the movie Taxi Driver. The thing that was interesting is you got to sit there and listen to them talk, and then you could ask questions and they would answer your questions.
It's perfect for the always sociable Jane.
She just wanted to make connections with people in the business and see if she could get a job interview to get a acting job, either as a bit player or a character actress. She knew that because she had not had any experience, she wouldn't be able to get a job as the star of a big budget movie.
Her plan to network while learning seems to pay off when a classmate at the Sherman Oaks College course tells her about a casting possibility at one of the major studios.
Actually, if you can just go ahead and give me a call anytime you have a chance, we'd love to see you stop by.
He assures Jane she's got the look and the talent.
Bye, thank you.
James has a bad feeling about this guy.
I told her that she should avoid him at all costs. She continued to talk to him during the classes or in the hall after class.
It seems like everything is finally falling into place for Jane King. But one dark November night, after an acting class at the Scientology Celebrity Center, Jane says goodbye to her friends and goes to wait for a bus, and somehow vanishes. She doesn't return to her apartment that night. When she's not home by the following day, her roommate reports her missing to LAPD. He tells them he hasn't heard from her and doesn't know where she is. There's little the police can do. It's not illegal for an adult to just take off. Maybe with all that's been going on in her busy life, Jane just needs some time away. It's possible she's staying with a friend and forgot to tell her roommate. It happens all the time. As the days stretch on, friends and family grow more concerned, especially when she starts to miss class.
It seemed unusual that she wouldn't be there because she had come to every class so far, really was enjoying it, and I was kind of concerned that she wasn't there. It was a time where you had to look over your shoulder if you were out at night. There were a lot of bad things going on at that time.
Had Jane met someone and rushed off for a long weekend? Or had she been in the wrong place at the wrong time and someone grabbed her?
LA was a much different town than it is now. I mean, it wasn't a city, especially in the downtown area, where you wanted to be walking by yourself late at night.
Aspiring actress Jane King works hard to make it in LA, taking roles in films from B-movies to studio features, while studying the craft in 2 sets of classes, one at a local college, one at the Scientology Celebrity Center in the heart of Hollywood. But after class at the Celebrity Center one night, she tells friends she's going to the bus stop and disappears. Her roommate reports her missing the next day, but no one has heard from her since.
Family did not know what this girl was doing.
She just didn't show up for class. Jane didn't come the following week or the week after that and never did come back.
Did she simply run off on a new adventure after finally meeting someone who could help her really break into the business? She had been spending a lot of time at the Scientology Celebrity Center.
It was the kind of place where you could go and almost get some psychological counseling. Her goal was to get clear, which means to take all of the bad thoughts out of your mind so that you are now a whole person. Jane King got drawn into that, and she felt that by going through the auditing sessions, it made it easier for her to focus on the work that she was trying to do, which was go to auditions for acting jobs. And I think a lot of the actors like Tom Cruise probably got into it for the same reason.
It was a legitimate hope for anybody who came in there that they could meet Travolta or some of the people who were in Scientology or on camera who could bring them onto their television show and they'd get some work.
She believed that Scientology would help her overcome obstacles.
But Scientology has its detractors.
At the Celebrity Center, if something bad happened, it was because you were doing bad things. They called overt acts, which are another word for sins. The common assumption was, well, what was she doing that made her vulnerable to such evil? You know, it's really a twisted mentality.
During her constant networking, had she met the wrong person? Someone who would promise her fame, but hurt her instead. On the day before Thanksgiving, and 2 weeks since anyone heard from Jane, a road worker makes a shocking discovery.
An employee of the highway division saw her body laying in the off-ramp of the Golden State Freeway. She was nude and laying in bushes. And at that point, nothing was identifiable.
And the woman has clearly been there for a while.
Decomposition had set in. The coroner's estimate of death was probably 8 to 9 days.
Because the body has been there so long, officers can't determine the cause of death. But the crime scene does offer some clues.
This had to happen at night, obviously. You don't run around with nude bodies in your car and dump them in the daytime.
The location of the body also indicates the killer is no stranger to Los Angeles.
I mean, it was a pretty difficult trek to get there on foot, and but you had to know the side roads, so it was obvious whoever was doing this knew the area.
The coroner begins to piece together the young woman's last moments.
The autopsy confirms ligature marks, 5-point ligature marks, neck, wrist, and ankles.
She'd been bound and slowly strangled to death.
She was definitely sexually molested.
There are also indications the woman did not put up a fight.
If somebody is resisting, they're going to sustain injuries prior to death. There was none of that.
It means she may have known her attacker. Investigators compare the victim's dental records to those of women reported missing within the past few weeks and get a match. Jane King. The case of the missing young actress has just turned into a homicide investigation. Detectives break the devastating news to her family.
I could hardly believe it, that her life had been just wiped off the face of the earth. I was very, very distraught.
Friends from the Scientology Celebrity Center recall warnings they'd received there.
I took a class, it was an acting class, and Lucille Ball of I Love Lucy was the teacher. One of the things that she said during that class was when she came to Hollywood, young ladies would come on the bus or on the train, and many of them would be picked up by bad guys. She said that is something that young ladies should watch out for.
Now, one of their own has really been slain.
There's this young, bright, pretty person, friendly enough, you know, and then boom, she's dead, grabbed in the dark, raped, you know, body thrown away, you know. What the hell is that?
She was an actress trying to get her first job. She was a good person. She didn't deserve what happened to her.
Who did these horrible things to Jane King? Investigators began digging into her life for answers.
That's part of the investigator's job, is to develop suspects from friends and acquaintances, boyfriends, lovers.
Given the evidence that she might have known her attacker, police start close to home. What about the roommate who first reported her missing? Maybe he was secretly obsessed with his beautiful roommate and attacked her. He could have filed the missing persons report to throw investigators off his trail. But a polygraph test clears him.
He was definitely not a suspect. Didn't even have a sexual relation with her that we could establish.
Police tried to retrace Jane's steps. She was last seen outside the Celebrity Center. Could someone from the Church of Scientology be involved? With new opportunities on the horizon, perhaps the budding young actress had decided to leave the controversial group.
I think Jane had a mind of her own, and she wanted to express her independence and get away from there. She realized that wasn't for her.
She had just left an acting class there. We did interview several people who were in that acting class at the Scientology Center, and none of those people had any reason to become focused of our investigation.
What about someone from the more dangerous corners of Jane's life, from her days with the bands?
We looked at the people that she hung around with, but none of them fit the bill of what we were looking for.
Every avenue of investigation leads detectives to a dead end. While police continue to plumb Jane's past for clues, they recall that another woman's body was found just days earlier. Could both women have fallen prey to the same predator?
Gotta make a conscious effort to be relaxing.
When she moves to Hollywood, Jane King wants nothing more than to work hard and achieve her dream of becoming an actress. But after she leaves acting class at the Church of Scientology Celebrity Center, she goes missing. Until her nude body is found dumped along the side of a freeway off-ramp in the Hollywood Hills. LAPD detectives have ruled out close friends and family as suspects. Had someone taken advantage of Jane's trusting nature?
She had a habit of accepting rides from strangers, and the police made a pretty big deal about that. In that era, people trusted a stranger to give you a ride sometime. It was very common for hitchhikers. It was very, very common to see young girls on the side of the road, even in the Hollywood area, you know, thumbing the ride and what have you.
Investigators also suspect Jane might not be this killer's only victim. The body of a young woman had been found displayed in a similar manner on a hillside days earlier.
She was nude and left in a bush area in the Highland Park area of Los Angeles. She was an art student who attended the College of Art and Design in Pasadena, California.
Marks on the body are just like Jane's.
You could see the 5-point ligature marks on her. The ligature mark around the neck, ligature marks about both wrists, and ligature marks around the ankles. That was one of the factors that started to connect the cases together.
Investigators check other unsolved cases and uncover a real-life horror story.
We got together with the Sheriff's Department and the Glendale Police Department and began viewing the evidence that they have, mainly the photographs of the victims. All the ligature marks were very prominent, and it indicated to us we've got a serial murder. The first victim, her body was placed nude in Forest Lawn area outside of Los Angeles. The second girl was abducted as her body was found in the LA County area. The third victim was found murdered and her body was dumped in the Glendale area.
The terrifying truth: Jane King was the fourth victim in a serial murder case. She'd sacrificed, struggled to make it as an actress, and she was on the rise, only to be slain like the others and dumped on the roadside.
Her body was not found till approximately 14 days later. In between that time, there were other victims,
including a fifth young woman, as well as two girls, one 14, the other just 12 years old. The girls were last seen getting off their school bus and approaching a car.
Somebody sexually assaulted these young girls, strangled them, and dumped their nude bodies in a trash heap off the Griffith Park area.
7 victims brutally murdered in less than a month, all left on Los Angeles hillsides.
That's when we got together and formed a task force and began investigating, quote unquote, the Hillside Strangler. To this day, I don't know who coined that phrase, and it just came out of the newspapers. Hillside Strangler strikes again. That's how it happened.
It was a major, major story. I mean, it seemed like the bodies were piling up and we just had no way of solving the crime. We had one reporter in particular who was assigned to the story every day. That's all he did. I mean, it was always the major story of the day.
It was on every TV program, every night, in the headlines of the LA Times. We had to actually change the frequency of plainclothes unit radios so the media wouldn't pick up the locations we were going for interviews. We had to get our own frequency separate from all the frequencies for the LA Police Department. Otherwise, we would find ourselves going to conduct an interview and the media would be there before us.
Jane King's horrified loved ones reel from the loss of the young actress with a bright future.
Jane King could have gotten a job in the movie business doing big budget movies eventually if she'd had the chance.
She had a beautiful heart and soul, and she was a light. She was a light into the world.
A light now snuffed out. Who is luring young women in Hollywood to their deaths?
A lot of the girls that came out here at that time to make it in the movies, were pretty vulnerable because there were a lot of guys that were pseudo Hollywood agents, and they thought that, they had a line of gab. Hey, listen, if you come to me, I can set you up.
The fear was real. This was really happening in their town, and there were a lot of young girls getting murdered and their nude bodies being dumped around town. So young girls were in a panic.
Amidst the fear and the media circus, detectives look for any connection between their victims.
They were all very attractive women. They all had some kind of desire to be a star in Hollywood. And they all were seen one minute and the next minute just gone, vanished.
Now, there were a lot of girls attracted to the fame and fortune of Hollywood. A lot of girls are trying to be actresses, work as waitresses, but a lot of them got into prostitution.
Not Jane King, of course, but several others who hadn't gone as far with their dreams.
We had 3 of our victims that were prostitutes.
Police have little to go on.
There was very few clues left behind. Where were the clothes? Where did he take them? Where did he kill them? I mean, this was something that had never really kind of happened in Los Angeles before.
Studying details of the crime scenes, investigators realize something that doubles the threat. This isn't the Hillside Strangler, but the Hillside Stranglers.
There were 2 men working this because it took 2 men to position the bodies in certain places. Some of the bodies had to be lifted and placed. One guy couldn't have done this alone.
A common trait among the victims' bodies gives police another good lead.
None of the victims had any defense wounds on their body. It's very unusual in assault or rape cases where a victim hasn't fought back. And that led us to believe that we're dealing with a power of authority in some shape or form. We believed they may have been policemen.
A separate, very secret internal investigation launches to look into the terrifying possibility the killers might be LAPD. If Jane King had been approached by a cop after acting class, she surely would have gotten into the car with him. Then, on November 29th, just 6 days after the discovery of Jane's body, the Stranglers claim another victim. An 18-year-old kidnapped just outside her home.
Lauren was across the street from her house when they abducted her from her vehicle and took her back to Buono's house. There they tortured her and sexually assaulted her, raped her, and dumped her nude body on Cliff Drive in Highland Park area.
But this case is different.
There was a witness to this abduction. An elderly lady saw 2 men. She originally thought they were police officers.
It looked like a traffic stop. One of the men is tall and young with acne scars. The other is older and shorter with dark hair. Sadly, the description doesn't help prevent the 9th and 10th murders. Whoever killed actress Jane King just won't stop killing.
Forensic evidence was not quite as advanced. We didn't have DNA. If we had DNA at that time, I'm sure we could have saved a couple of girls' lives.
It was frustrating for everybody.
Then, investigators get a surprising phone call.
There was an actor in Los Angeles that claimed he was a Hillside Strangler.
The actor's a big guy who lives in the Hollywood Hills, where several of the victims' bodies were found. He also seems to know a lot about the murders.
They handcuffed him, brought him down, and we interviewed and talked to him and found out he didn't know anything about the murders.
The actor was smoking PCP when he called police and admits he hallucinated the whole thing.
There were a couple of nut jobs that would call police and would come in and say, hey, I know all about it, I did it, I was there. They'd ask a couple of pertinent questions. They say, nice try, but see you later.
Suddenly, the killings end and the investigation grinds to a halt.
There was always the apprehension that, where are they? Did they leave and are they killing somewhere else? I mean, there was somewhat of a little bit of a relief because the murders had stopped, but by the same token, you wanted some kind of finality to this. You wanted to know who.
Jane King's family is left twisting in the wind, desperate to know who killed the young actress. Arizona native Jane King comes to Hollywood with one plan: to be a star. She models, takes several acting classes, and scores some film roles. But after leaving the Scientology Celebrity Center one night, she vanishes. LAPD detectives discover she's one of 10 victims of a murderous duo called the Hillside Stranglers. It seems the rising actress's killers might never be caught. A year goes by. Then, 1,200 miles away, in Bellingham, Washington, 2 college girls go missing. A friend tells police the girls were last seen house-sitting for a security guard whose firm had been hired to watch the house. Police question the guard, who denies knowing either of the girls. He explains he was at a sheriff's reserve meeting the night they disappeared. Investigators put out an APB for the girls' car.
They found the car, and they found both of the girls dead and strangled in the back of the vehicle.
Police also find a piece of paper with the address of the place they were house-sitting and the name Ken written on it. The security guard who denied knowing the girls is named Ken Bianchi.
Forensic evidence, fingerprints, blood, everything connected Bianchi to the murder of those 2 girls.
He's arrested and charged with murder. As investigators build their case, they discover Bianchi recently moved to Washington from Southern California.
We were contacted by the Bellingham police, and they said, we got a guy from Los Angeles, and his name is Kenneth Bianchi, and his address is so-and-so.
The address is next door to the Hillside Stranglers' 6th victim.
The bells went off. Bang. We got a guy strangling 2 girls in Bellingham. We got a guy who lived next door to one of our victims in Los Angeles. And then it was easy connecting all the other dots.
Is this one of the men who murdered Jane King? Detective Grogan goes to interrogate Bianchi.
It's part of the worst things you have to do as a detective. Sometimes you got to sleep with the devil. Sometimes you make a guy an offer. They wanted to execute Bianchi in the state of Washington. California didn't have a death penalty at that time, so in the offer we made, you come down and tell us what happened in Los Angeles, and we will get the state of Washington to waive the death penalty. So he cooperated with us and said his partner was Angelo Buono, and gave us all the background, their relationship, where he lived.
Angelo Buono is Bianchi's cousin.
Buono owned an upholstery shop, and he seemed to be a solid citizen in Glendale and what have you, and then his cousin Bianchi, the big, suave, sophisticated type of ladies' man, It was quite stunning.
Bianchi says he and Buono abducted and assaulted all 10 victims together, including Jane King, but they took turns killing them. He murdered 5, Buono murdered 5.
Oh, hey, guys.
He says they tricked most of them into getting in their car by flashing a fake police badge.
I mean, it's an unbelievable, chilling confession. I mean, you see him, and he's looking at these pictures, and I remember one part in particular. He goes, killed her, killed her, killed her. No, didn't do her. Did her. No, didn't do her. Describing what he did and how he did it, and just the coldness of it, like matter of fact, like it was, hey, I get up in the morning, I kill a woman, I strip her, I dump her on this hillside. It was just the matter-of-fact way in which he did it.
Jane? Hey, how are you?
According to James Waite, Bianchi met Jane King in acting
You're
class.
exactly what we're looking for down at the studio.
He tried to impress the beautiful actress by pretending to work for a big studio.
You too. Thank you. See you soon.
Bye-bye.
Ken Bianchi had showed me a stack of stationery that said Paramount Pictures across the top, that he was going to fill it out in a way that the page would confirm that he was a casting agent working for Paramount Pictures.
Seriously, you just tell him that you're a casting agent? You give him this sheet of paper?
And he was going to use that introduction to get girls, whatever that meant. He told me that he was going to give it to Jane King.
And he'll do anything.
And I thought to myself, no, you're not. I went up to where Jane was sitting. I told her that she should not believe him, that she should avoid him at all costs. Whatever I told her just didn't sink in, I guess. And in retrospect, I should have made a much bigger deal of it than I did.
The murderous duo happened to be trolling for victims near the Scientology Celebrity Center the night Jane was at the bus stop there.
They drive by, and let's face it, Jane was a very attractive-looking young lady, and they saw her, and she was prime victim. So why don't you jump in the car and we'll give you a ride home? That was Bianchi's line. Now, once she's in the car, Bianchi strangled her. He didn't knock her unconscious at that time, but sufficiently enough to put handcuffs on her and took her to Buono's house.
At the house, they each raped her. Then, Buono suffocated her with a plastic bag and twine.
No, no!
This one still sticks with me, of how cold and callous a human being could be.
Angelo Buono is arrested in Los Angeles and charged with all 10 murders. Ken Bianchi testifies against Buono. He is charged with the 5 murders he confessed to and the 2 murders in Washington state. He tries again to escape his own punishment.
He said he was a dual personality. He claimed to be, his name wasn't Bianchi, his name was Dave, his name was Peter, his name was so-and-so. And he made all this crap up, obviously for defense. Well, some social workers believed him, actually believed that Kenny Bianchi was a dual personality, and Kenny didn't kill these girls, but the other part of him killed those girls. We brought a psychiatrist by the name of Dr. Orn in from Philadelphia, I believe he was from at the time, and it took him about an hour to prove that Kenny Bianchi was a fraud. He's not a dual personality. He's using that as an excuse for his behavior.
Angelo Buono dies of a heart attack in prison in 2002.
Bianchi is still sitting in Walla Walla, where he'll sit for the rest of his life. He gets 1 hour outdoors a week.
Jane King's loved ones are left to mourn and wonder what level of success the talented young woman could have achieved in Hollywood.
No, I wish I had a time machine. I could go back and, go find where Jane's living. Hey, come have a cup of coffee with me. And that particular night, she's in a different place.
Their solace is knowing her tragic death might help others avoid a similar fate.
Look over your shoulder, be aware of your surroundings, and know that not everybody is what they say they are. Life is hard. You gotta watch out for yourself.
She's still a beacon, a warning beacon in a different way. Her light morphed into the warning light.